Hello, Scouts. It's Mr. Kugler. And we've got the Dutch oven going today, and we're going to make a great Dutch oven meal called Polish sausage bake. And this comes out of probably my favorite cookbook. It's called Camp Cooking 100 Years. It's from the National Museum of Forest Service History. And this particular recipe comes recipes for roughing it easy. It's a very tasty meal, and I'm sure once you see everything that goes into it, you'll probably agree. So the star of our Polish sausage bake must be Polish sausage, right? Or kielbasa. And I have about 2 pounds of Polish kielbasa. What's really great about Polish kielbasa is most of it is smoked, which means you can actually eat it right out of the packet. So we don't have to worry so much about being fully cooked all the way through up to a certain temperature. We certainly want it to be hot and warm, but it also aids with food handling and all. It makes it a lot easier. We're going to have what's called some boiling onions, some celery, a half a large head of cabbage. I've got some chicken broth here just if we need it. I'll put some in just to be able to create that moisture so everything steams through. We've got some baby carrots. You could use regular carrots and peel them and cut them. I have about a pound. And I have just over a pound, about a pound and a half of these small baby potatoes. I'll take and cut those in half, and we'll get them going in our Dutch oven. And it'll all come together with a little bit of oil in there to keep the first things from burning. So why don't we get started preparing our Polish sausage bake. So before I started filming, I took my 12-inch, I'm actually using a deep 12-inch Dutch oven today, but what I did is I put a full bed of coals underneath because we're going to be starting by browning off the cut pieces of the sausage and the boiling onions, which we're going to trim back and cut in half. So we needed to have full bottom heat. So especially when you're cooking in the winter, as it obviously is now, your cast iron gets a little cold. It's great to bring it up to temperature a little further in advance, but get it up to that temperature so once you're ready to add your ingredients, it's ready to go. So let's get started with our boiling onions. And these are small onions, a little bit bigger than pearl onions, but we'll take and we're going to not only cut them in half, but we'll also take and remove the outer layers of the skin. So with all our boiling onions cut in half and the ends cut off and the outer skin removed, we'll get on to cutting our Polish kielbasa or Polish sausage into 2-inch lengths. So with all our Polish kielbasa or Polish sausage cut, we're going to remove the lid of our Dutch oven and put about a tablespoon and a half of virgin olive oil in the bottom of our Dutch oven. So I have a little small container. You could certainly use vegetable oil. I just happen to have olive oil already prepared. Coat the bottom of that Dutch oven. Then we'll carefully add all our Polish sausage and our boiling onions. The sound of the sizzle tells me I was well prepared. Now those boiling onions. So we'll stir these periodically with a wooden spoon. Just make sure that they're cooking evenly. So while our sausage and onions brown for about 10 minutes, we're going to get going on our vegetables. And one of the things that we have is 2 stalks of celery. Now, before I left home, I took and washed the celery, cut off the ends that were, not so pretty, where they come off the base. And I have my 2 stalks here. I'm going to take and cut the 2 stalks in about 2-inch lengths. And just set these off to the side here. Actually, I'm going to cheat, and I have my baby carrots here. Plenty of room in that bag, so I'm just going to take and put these right in there. Now we'll do our baby potatoes. I'm going to cut these in half. I want to be able to have the diameter not so big that they're not going to cook. Now, you certainly could use regular potatoes and peel them. I like these baby potatoes because I don't have to peel them. I washed them in the netting before I left home. Give our sausage and onions a stir. Another stir. I'm going to try to stand up these chunks of kielbasa on their ends and brown up the ends a little bit. See how that works. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our half a head of cabbage. Now, I cut it at home. You'll notice that it has the core down here, so I'm going to try to leave that from getting in the pot. And before I left home, I removed the outer layers. What you want to do is when you get a head of cabbage new from the store, you want to remove, because the outer leaves tend to be dried out, and also everybody's been handling them in the grocery store. So by doing that, you're able to get it down to a clean, nice, pretty cabbage. So we're going to take and we're going to cut this into wedges. I'm going to cut it into 4 wedges, so I'm going to start by halving it. And while I have it halved, I'm going to take and come in here and remove that core. Get rid of that. And then just carefully, my chopping knife come through and cut it into half. So now I'll end up with 4 wedges for my half a head of cabbage. Take and flip over my ends here. So we're about 10 minutes in, and now what I'll do is add all our chopped vegetables or prepared vegetables that we had, our carrots and our potatoes, along with the celery. Give that a stir. Nice thing about this 12-inch deep Dutch oven is I have a little extra height so that my cabbage is not right up against the bottom of the lid. Now I'll take and add, I took and cut some holes in the top of this can of chicken broth, and I'm just going to add a little of it. Not even a quarter of the can in there, just to get this started. That'll create the steam that we need. Now I'll take and put my lid on my pot. Give it a stir to make sure it's sealed. And I'm going to add a little extra heat underneath, because this is between the preheating and the browning. I'm sure my coals need a little replenishing. Most of this dish is going to be bottom heat. Come in. So I'm a little low on coals. Always important to watch your coals. So what I'll do is I've got the bottom heat on there, and it can see here another 5 or 10 minutes when I have some new coals ready to go. I'll put a full ring of coals around the outer edge to create our bake, because we want to have heat coming from the top and the bottom, but certainly that bottom heat will just get this going, start heating up those potatoes, the carrots, the celery, and just continue to cook our Polish kielbasa and our boiling onions. So I've had my top heat on the pot. I've stirred it a couple times. I'm going to take the lid off and give it another stir. And I'll add a little extra chicken broth. Put our lid back on. Give it a little twist to make sure it's sealed tight. And just to make sure I don't have any hot spots in the bottom, I'll just move my Dutch oven, give it a little spin to even out the heat. Well, Scouts, we're about 45 minutes in. Remember, I was a little behind on my coals on the top, so that added, I bet you'd be about 40 minutes if you were prepared like I wasn't with coals for the top. One of the ways to know that you're done is to check those potatoes, see if they're soft in the middle, they're fully cooked, they're not hard, and the same thing with the carrots. The other thing is the cabbage starts to wilt and get soft, kind of like you would see in like a sauerkraut or some other type of a cooked cabbage dinner. So we just have one other thing to do besides testing it, is we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And so we're going to go in, I'm going to take a paring knife and check the potatoes, just make sure the knife comes in and out easily. So let me put my gloves on, and we'll go in and check. Look at that. It's coming out nicely in the potatoes. They're cooked. Those carrots are cooked. So let's add a little bit of salt and pepper. Now we'll give it a little stir. Mix the salt and pepper in. You'll see that that cabbage, during the cooking process, it came apart. Look at that. Come in, cut up that kielbasa. Delicious. Try a little cabbage and a little carrot. One of the other great things, if you have the opportunity, this kielbasa or Polish sausage is made in our state. We have a couple towns not far from here that have a very heavy Polish population, and they are known for their great Polish authentic kielbasa. So if you have an opportunity to get some of that stuff, definitely do. So hopefully this Polish sausage bake has inspired you to get out there and cook something different using maybe some Polish kielbasa along with those steaming or smaller onions, along with baby carrots, the baby potatoes, the cabbage, the little bit of chicken broth that was in there, and then the salt and pepper at the end. So get out there with your patrol and troop, trying different cooking methods. Mix up and vary your different types of foods or meals that you cook, but most of all, get out there in the great outdoors and enjoy yourself.